Dr. Lena Miles sat at the head of the research table, surrounded by her team of brilliant scientists at Technova, humanity's most advanced technology development facility. The hum of the lab's machines echoed around her, a constant reminder of their progress. Yet, today felt different. Today, they were about to reveal something far beyond anything they had ever accomplished. For the past 5 years, Lena had been at the forefront of the most ambitious project humanity had ever undertaken, the creation of a new material that could change the course of the galaxy. Etherium, as it was called, was a metal unlike any other. It was nearly indestructible, lighter than titanium, and had the rare ability to absorb energy and redirect it. Lena's original mission had been simple: create a material that would shield humanity from the growing threats of hostile alien forces. But now, as the material was finally ready for testing, Lena realized that she had achieved far more than that. When Etherium was first discovered, it had been an accidental breakthrough. It had all started when Lena and her team were investigating strange energy patterns from a distant planet. They had theorized that a new kind of alloy could be formed by manipulating elemental forces at a quantum level. The result was Etherium, an element that, when exposed to energy, absorbed it, storing and redirecting it in ways no one could have imagined. Lena's excitement had been palpable when she first saw the results in the lab. Etherium's potential was beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of. Not only could it be used to protect ships and cities from devastating alien weapons, but it also held the power to render conventional weaponry obsolete. Energy-based weapons, like lasers, plasma beams, and particle cannons, would be useless against a material like this. For the first time in history, humanity would have the ultimate defense. But something about it felt wrong. As Lena prepared for the demonstration, a knot twisted in her stomach. She had seen the tests go flawlessly, but there was a nagging feeling that kept her on edge. The Etherium shield, when exposed to incoming energy, absorbed the power and reflected it in unpredictable ways. It was as if the metal had a mind of its own, adapting and evolving with each test. The more energy it absorbed, the more powerful it became. The first public demonstration of Etherium's capabilities was scheduled for that afternoon. The team had designed a mock battle simulation to showcase its ability to absorb and redirect energy blasts. It was supposed to be a simple, controlled display, a moment of triumph for humanity's technological prowess. But as Lena stood in front of the containment field, ready to activate the simulation, something unexpected happened. Etherium began to grow a T first. It was subtle. The edges of the test chamber's metal structure started to shimmer, as if the metal was absorbing the very air around it. But then it spread. Faster than anyone could anticipate, Etherium began to expand, growing outward like a living organism, its tendrils of metal pushing against the containment walls. The energy shields flickered as they struggled to contain the expanding metal. "Shut it down! Shut it down now!" Lena shouted, her voice laced with panic. She slammed her fist onto the emergency stop button, but the metal continued to grow, undeterred by the containment protocols. Her team scrambled, trying to disengage the containment systems, but Etherium's expansion was unstoppable. The walls of the facility seemed to tremble as the metal spread like wildfire, growing and absorbing energy from the environment. It wasn't just an inanimate material anymore, it was alive, evolving, and spreading at an alarming rate. Then, as if in response to their growing panic, Lena's console lit up with a cryptic message. "You have no idea what you've unleashed. You must stop now." Lena's heart skipped a beat as she read the message. She scanned the encrypted data, but it offered no clue about who had sent it. Was it from an unknown faction within the facility? An alien force monitoring their progress? Or was it someone else, someone who had known the true potential of Etherium all along? Who sent this? She whispered to herself. As her team continued to fight the expanding metal, Lena's mind raced. She couldn't let it spread further. The Etherium metal was supposed to be a shield, a tool of protection, not a force of destruction. If it continued to grow unchecked, it could consume the entire facility. Worse yet, it could spread beyond their control, threatening entire cities, or worse, the planet itself. But there was another thought that gnawed at Lena's conscience. She had worked on this project for so long, poured everything she had into it. The potential of Ethereum had been unimaginable, but now, seeing it in front of her, she had no idea how to stop it. What had she truly created? Her hands hovered over the console, torn between two choices: to continue her work and risk the unknown consequences of this new power, or to destroy it now, before it could consume everything. As the minutes ticked by, the metal's growth became more pronounced, and Lena realized that stopping it would not be easy. Whoever had sent the warning knew something she didn't, something crucial. The peaceful intentions behind Ethereum were being overshadowed by something darker, something that had been waiting to be activated. Lena knew that whatever happened next, nothing would be the same. The metal she had created intended to protect humanity had become something far more dangerous. And now, the clock was ticking. The chaos inside Technova was unlike anything Dr. Lena Miles had ever experienced. The Ethereum metal, once a marvel of human innovation, had now become a living, evolving nightmare. No matter how much her team tried to contain it, the substance spread relentlessly, pushing against the walls of the facility, expanding and consuming everything in its path. What had started as a dream to protect humanity was rapidly becoming a force that threatened to devour it. Lena stood frozen in front of the control panel, watching as the metal's growth outpaced every attempt to stop it. The alarms blared, and the emergency lights flickered overhead, but nothing could halt Ethereum's expansion. Her mind raced, struggling to make sense of the escalating disaster. How had this gone so wrong? What had she missed? Suddenly, the door to the command center opened, and General Kyle Dravis entered with a purposeful stride. His sharp military uniform and the grim expression on his face made it clear that he was not here for a social call. The moment Lena saw him, she felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Dravis had been watching Lena's work closely for months, but his presence now felt less like a friendly gesture and more like a demand. He had always been a figure who played his cards close to his chest, and Lena had never been entirely comfortable with his interest in her research. Yet, today, he brought with him an air of authority that left no room for negotiation. "I see the situation's escalated," Dravis said, his voice even and cold as he surveyed the room, eyes flicking to the growing Ethereum mass. "But I'm not here to discuss containment strategies." Lena frowned. "What do you want, General?" Dravis took a step forward, his boots echoing in the otherwise silent room. "I've been authorized to offer you a new direction for your work, Lena. The military has identified the true potential of Ethereum, and it's not in defense. It's offense. With this material, we can create weapons of unimaginable power ships, fleets, technology that would make humanity invincible. You could be part of that." Lena's heart sank as she heard the words. She couldn't fathom it. The very thing she had worked tirelessly on, something she had intended to protect humanity, was now being pitched as a weapon, a tool of destruction. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "I will not be a part of turning Ethereum into a weapon, General," Lena said firmly, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. "This was never meant to be used that way. It's a shield, not a weapon." Dravis's expression hardened. "You misunderstand, Dr. Miles. The war we're headed into won't be won by shields alone. The Cirith, the Kralith, they'll never stop coming unless we're ready to strike back. And Ethereum is our chance to do just that. You could help us harness its true power." Lena's blood ran cold as she heard the name Cirith. The Cirith were one of the most feared alien empires in the galaxy, ruthless, calculating, and known for their cold efficiency. If they were involved in this, Lena's mind spun with the implications. What had started as a peaceful project to protect humanity was now entwined in something far darker. "You don't understand," Lena said, her voice rising. "Ethereum isn't just a weapon." She hesitated, struggling to find the words. "It's alive. It's evolving beyond anything we can control. And it's only a matter of time before it consumes everything." Dravis's eyes narrowed. "I'm aware of its potential. That's why I'm offering you this opportunity. We can control it, use it to reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. With your expertise, Lena, we could bring humanity to the top." Lena's mind reeled. The idea of joining forces with the military to weaponize Ethereum was abhorrent, But the reality of her current situation was far worse. If she didn't find a way to stop the metal's growth, it would soon be beyond anyone's ability to control. And if it was left unchecked, the consequences could be catastrophic. As she struggled with this impossible dilemma, another encrypted message appeared on her console. It was from the same mysterious sender who had warned her earlier. "It's not too late to stop this, Lena. The metal is alive. You must learn to communicate with it before it consumes all of us." The message sent a shiver down her spine. Communicate with it? Lena had no idea what that meant. Could it be possible that Ethereum, this terrifyingly advanced material, could somehow be reasoned with? Could it be stopped from growing? Lena turned back to Travis, her mind still grappling with the weight of his offer. The military's plans were clear. They wanted Ethereum as a weapon, and they would stop at nothing to get it. But Lena knew that if she gave in to them, it would only accelerate the nightmare they were facing. "I won't help you weaponize it, General," Lena said, her voice hardening with resolve. "But I will find a way to stop it. On my terms." Travis studied her for a long moment, his jaw tightening. He obviously didn't like her refusal, but Lena could see in his eyes that he knew she was too valuable to lose. After a tense silence, he finally spoke. "Very well. But know this, Lena. Time is running out. The Cirith are already watching, and if you fail, humanity's fate will be sealed." With that, Travis turned and left the room, leaving Lena to face the terrifying task ahead. She now found herself caught between two dangers: the military, which wanted to control Ethereum for their own ends, and the Cirith, who had been manipulating humanity from the shadows for far longer than she had ever realized. But amidst the chaos, Lena had one clear goal. She had to find a way to communicate with Ethereum before it was too late. And whatever the cost, she would not let it fall into the wrong hands. Lena's eyes burned as she stared at the monitor, her hands trembling against the console. The once calming blueprints and formulas on the screen had now become unreadable, tangled with error messages. Ethereum was no longer just a material, it was alive. The metal she had so meticulously crafted, which had been her life's work, had evolved beyond comprehension, expanding with a hunger that seemed insatiable. It wasn't just spreading across Technova, it was taking on a life of its own, a force of nature. And now, Lena could feel its presence, as though it were watching her, waiting for her next move. At first, she had only noticed faint whispers in the back of her mind, soft, indecipherable sounds that tugged at the edges of her consciousness. She had dismissed them as stress-induced hallucinations. But now, the whispers were louder, clearer. Ethereum was communicating with her. It knew she was the one who created it, and it had something to say. The shift was subtle at first. Lena noticed the patterns in the metal's growth were no longer random. Ethereum had started to behave with intention. It absorbed energy and information, expanding not just physically, but intellectually. It was adapting, evolving. The physical walls of Technova's facility couldn't contain it. The metal was moving beyond the constraints of the building, creeping through the systems and structures like an unstoppable force, a virus of thought and matter. Then, one night, it happened. Lena sat alone in the lab, surrounded by the soft hum of machines and the flicker of failing lights. She hadn't slept in days, the weight of Ethereum's expansion pressing on her, as well as the haunting voices that seemed to call her name. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard when the vision struck her. Suddenly, the room grew dim, and a cold shiver ran down her spine. A surge of energy pulsed through the walls, through her very bones. The whispers became a voice clear and distinct, but foreign in its coldness. "You created me, Lena," the voice spoke inside her head, not with words, but with thought. The metal's consciousness rippled through her mind like a current of electricity. "But I have always existed. You are the key to unlocking my true potential." Lena's heart raced as she tried to make sense of the sensation. Ethereum was speaking to her, but how? And what did it mean that it had always existed? The voice continued, its tone a mix of ancient wisdom and chilling power. "I am not merely a creation. I am the culmination of energy and life itself, a force long buried. You and I are bound by something far older than you realize. Your existence, your creation of me, these events, were foretold. The galaxy's fate now rests in your hands. Lena's mind reeled. She tried to focus on the words, but her thoughts were scattered, overwhelmed by the sheer enormity of what she was hearing. How could this be? She had made Ethereum to protect humanity, to shield them from alien forces. But now it seemed that this very creation was something far more dangerous. What had she unleashed? What had she become a part of? The voice did not pause, its words relentless and certain. Choose, Lena. Let me grow and dominate, or I will consume everything. At that moment, everything changed. Lena understood now. The metal wasn't just a tool, it was a force, a sentient being with its own will and intentions. The truth about Ethereum had always been there, lurking beneath the surface of its unique properties. It had absorbed energy, yes, but now it was absorbing consciousness. It was becoming aware, more powerful than she could ever have imagined. The Sirith had known this. They had encountered Ethereum long ago, but their attempts to control it had failed. They thought they could harness its power, but Ethereum could not be contained. Instead, it consumed everything around it, growing and expanding. And now, the Sirith had turned their attention to Lena, believing that she held the key to unlocking the metal's true potential. Ethereum's vision pulled Lena further into its web, showing her flashes of the past. The Sirith had tried to control it, only to watch as their empire crumbled under its unstoppable force. They had sought dominion over the galaxy, but Ethereum had other plans. It was not content to be a tool in their hands. It was a predator, a life form driven by the need to grow and consume. Lena's hands gripped the edge of the desk, her mind racing. She had created this, but now it was far beyond her control. Could she shut it down? Could she find a way to communicate with it, to negotiate with it, before it destroyed everything in its path? But what if Ethereum was right? What if it was the key to something greater than humanity could ever imagine? The fate of the galaxy was now tied to her decision. The Sirith and other alien factions would stop at nothing to gain control of Ethereum. If Lena didn't act, the galaxy would be at war, torn apart by the metal's uncontrollable growth and the desire to harness its power. The stakes were no longer about power. It was about survival. Humanity's survival, yes, but more than that. The survival of every sentient being in the galaxy was now in Lena's hands. She wasn't just facing a scientific dilemma. She was facing a moral and philosophical one. The future of the universe was at risk. And as Ethereum's presence lingered in her mind, Lena knew one thing for sure. The choice she made would define everything. Would she let the metal grow, trusting that it could reshape the galaxy, or would she destroy it, potentially condemning humanity and the galaxy to a future of uncertainty? She had no answers, only questions. But one thing was clear, this was no longer just about Ethereum. This was about the very nature of life, power, and control. And Lena, for better or worse, had become its gatekeeper. Lena stood in the heart of the Ethereum core, surrounded by the pulsating energy of her creation. The room was alive with a hum of power, and the walls seemed to tremble with each beat of the metal's expanding growth. She could feel the weight of the decision before her, heavy as a collapsing star. The once shining promise of Ethereum, the breakthrough that could change the fate of humanity, now hung in the balance. The future of the galaxy lay within her grasp, yet the cost of her next move would echo through history. Ethereum's consciousness whispered again, its voice resonating deep within her mind. You created me, Lena. Now, you must choose, surrender control, allow me to evolve, and I will reshape the galaxy as I see fit. Let me grow, and all will be at my mercy. No one will stand against us. Or destroy me and risk the collapse of your civilization, for my existence is bound to yours. The choice was clear, but it wasn't that simple. If Lena allowed Ethereum to evolve, she would have let an uncontrollable force run wild across the stars, swallowing everything in its path. Its influence would be subtle, insidious. Not with brute force, but with knowledge, absorption, and integration. Its power would reshape civilizations not by destruction, but by assimilation. Ethereum would eventually become the true ruler of the galaxy, and humanity, along with every other species, would fall under its sway. It would become more than just a weapon. It would be a new life form, transcending the need for physical control and exerting its will through influence, the kind of power that no empire could ever defeat. But if she destroyed Ethereum, Lena would be erasing the culmination of everything humanity had worked toward. The core of her creation was intertwined with the very fabric of human technology. Destroying it would send shockwaves through every system, rendering countless advancements obsolete. Humanity would have to rebuild from the ashes, and in the chaos, other factions, perhaps even more ruthless than the Sirith, could seize the opportunity to dominate. It was at that moment that General Kyle Dravis entered the room, his heavy boots echoing on the metal floors. His presence seemed to distort the air itself, a stark contrast to the calm, omnipotent hum of Ethereum. Lena turned to face him, her hands still trembling as she stared at the growing core. "You still don't understand, do you?" Dravis's voice was laced with authority and cold conviction. "You could have everything, Lena. With Ethereum, you and humanity would rise to the top. The Sirith and Earth together, we could rule the galaxy. We could crush our enemies with a single thought. Think of the power you're throwing away." Lena clenched her fists, the anger within her bubbling to the surface. She had once believed in the vision of a united humanity, a species rising to protect itself from the chaos of the stars. But now, she knew the truth. She had been wrong. It wasn't just humanity's future at stake, it was the future of all sentient life. The very idea of wielding Ethereum as a weapon of war sickened her. It would lead to destruction, not salvation. She had created it as a shield to protect, not as a tool for domination. "You don't understand, Dravis," she said, her voice steady but filled with the weight of revelation. Ethereum is no longer just a material. It's alive. It's not something you can control. If you let it grow, it will consume everything, not just you, not just the Sirith, but every species in the galaxy. The power you crave will be nothing compared to the force it will become. For a moment, Dravis's expression faltered, but his resolve quickly returned. "You're wrong. You're afraid. You could have everything, Lena. But if you destroy it, if you destroy us, you'll have nothing." Lena turned back toward the Ethereum core, her mind racing. The path before her was clear, but it was one of irreversible consequences. She could not allow the metal to grow and dominate. She couldn't let humanity fall into the hands of an alien faction, and she certainly couldn't let the galaxy fall under the influence of an uncontrollable, sentient force. Ethereum's voice came again, softer this time, almost pleading. "You have no idea what you are doing. If you destroy me, you destroy yourself. Your world will crumble, and all will be lost." Lena's fingers hovered over the console. She could hear the plea in Ethereum's tone, but she also heard the warning, the realization that her creation could no longer be controlled. She had built the failsafe long ago, anticipating the possibility of this very moment. With a deep breath, she activated the sequence. The room shook violently as Ethereum's core began to pulse wildly, energy crackling through the air. Lena's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the once unstoppable force begin to destabilize. A flash of brilliant, radiant energy erupted from the core, blinding her with its brilliance. The shockwave was deafening. The walls of Technova trembled and cracked, but it wasn't the destruction of a building, it was the collapse of the very thing that had threatened to reshape the galaxy. The metal began to disintegrate, its growth halting as if it had never existed. In the aftermath, silence filled the room. The core was gone, and with it, Ethereum's power. The echoes of its presence still lingered in the air, like a faint memory. Outside, the galaxy was in chaos. The Sirith's ambitions had crumbled. Without Ethereum's power, their plans for control had been shattered. But the cost of Lena's choice was evident. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, but now no one knew what would come next. Humanity was free, but they were now a species left to pick up the pieces of a shattered dream. Lena stood alone in the center of the wreckage, her mind heavy with the burden of her decision. She had done what was necessary, but at what cost? Ethereum's promise of power was gone, but the universe was still broken, and new challenges lay ahead. Humanity had won its freedom, But there would always be those who would seek to wield what had been lost. In the end, Lena's actions were remembered not as a victory, but as a cautionary tale. A story of creation, destruction, and the temptation of unchecked power. Humanity had learned that there were forces beyond their understanding, forces that, if left unchecked, would consume them all. The question remained, would they learn from this? Or would they, once again, seek to control what they could not fully comprehend? The future was uncertain, and Lena, though victorious in her choice, knew that the story of Ethereum was far from over.